Hi guys, and welcome to my Christmas kitchen. As you can see, we're getting into the spirit of things. Christmas is one of my favourite times of year because it's such a great excuse to get cooking. We eat so much during the festive period, but I always find that I'm looking for new recipes because sometimes we get a bit sick of the usual turkey and sprouts. So what I'm going to show you today is a really fantastic recipe for a festive stuffed porchetta. So this would be perfect if you're having friends over on Christmas Eve or Boxing Day. Makes a nice alternative to the usual goose or turkey. And it's basically a lovely bit of pork belly stuffed with some spiced, flavoured pork mince stuffing, which we're going to mix with some sourdough, some pine nuts, we've got sage and onion going in there, some lemon zest, some orange zest, and some coriander seeds. So it's really going to infuse the pork belly with these lovely warm flavours and a little crunch in there from the pine nuts as well. So let's get cracking. I think it's a really good idea to start the prep for this recipe the day before you're cooking it, because that means that you can just whack your ready to go porchetta in the oven and roast it for a couple of hours and you're there. So first we're going to prepare our pork belly, and I'm just going to start by scoring it, which is going to help the crackling along. So the butcher has already scored it in a diagonal across there, and I want it in a crosshatch, so I'm just going to use my knife and score it in the opposite direction. And you just want to be careful that you're not going all the way down to the meat. You're just going down the layer of fat. You need a really sharp knife. I'm using a butcher's knife. You can get these online. This is great because it's got a flexible blade. And this cost me about £5 online, so it's definitely worth investing in. Great for cutting up chicken carcasses and scoring pork skin. So now what I'm going to do is poach it very briefly in some bicarbonate of soda, which might sound like a weird thing to do, but what it does is actually sort of dries out the skin, and that's another step towards hopefully getting some really crackling. So I've got a tablespoon of bicarbonate of soda here, and I'm just going to pop it into this simmering, well, it's not quite simmering, but it's just about to simmer water in there. And then I'm going to bung in the pork belly. So that's going in here to poach. And then you just want to leave that to poach gently. You don't want it rolling and boiling, but just gently poaching for about 5 minutes. This is actually a trick that my friend Yuan Lu taught me. She's a very good Vietnamese cook, and it's something that they do in Vietnam. So if it's good enough for them, and they're the masters of pork cooking as far as I'm concerned, then it's a good one for us to adopt as well. So while that's poaching, what we can do is just toast our chili flakes and fennel seeds, which are going to be mixed with some sea salt, and then they're going to lightly cure the pork to really infuse it with flavour and draw out some of the moisture, which makes for a much more tender and flavourful roast pork. So 3 tablespoons of fennel seeds going into this dry frying pan over a sort of medium-high heat, and the chili flakes as well. And just give them a toast. The pork's been in there for 5 minutes, so we're just going to gently take it out and pop it there to drain and just to cool down for a minute. And these spices are ready as well. So I'm going to put these straight into, you could use a pestle and mortar or like a mini chopper. Going in there. With a tablespoon of sea salt. And then we're just going to blitz them up into a nice salt rub. And that's about right. You could do it finer if you wanted, but this is a rustic dish. Once your pork belly's cooled down from the poaching, you're going to stab it all over with a knife, on the underside that is. And this is really fun if you've got someone you're not too fond of at the moment. You want to get some anger out. Just give it a bit of a stab. And then take your spiced salt rub and just sprinkle it all over the underside. These flavours are going to infuse into the meat. And I'm just going to rub that into the meat, all on the sides. Just get it in there. This is, you're seasoning it with this. Once you've rubbed the spice rub into all the nooks and crannies, maybe get a bit of kitchen towel and just dry the skin off. Give it a bit of a dab, because you want the skin to be really, really dry in order to get that lovely crispy crackling. And all you're going to do is put this in the fridge now for about 8 hours, or if you're doing it the day before, overnight, and chill it down. So while our pork's chilling, we can get going on the stuffing. And to make that, I'm just going to heat about a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil in a frying pan. And I'm going to gently fry half a bulb of fennel and a white onion. So that's all going in there. Add a pinch of salt. And then just give these a nice fry, a few minutes, till they're really softened and smelling sweet and good. And I'm just going to crush these coriander seeds. When that's been going for about 10 minutes and is sort of nice and softened and slightly golden, add in the crushed garlic and coriander seeds in there. And cook for a further 2 or so minutes. And I just absolutely love cooking with coriander seeds. I think they've got the most beautiful, fragrant flavour. It adds a real freshness to something like a stuffing. It goes really well with pork, a little bit in the same way that fennel does, but slightly different flavour. And then just going to turn the heat up slightly to sort of medium-high heat, and add in the ground pork mince in here as well. Just break it up a little bit. And we're going to cook this for another sort of 8 to 10 minutes until all the pork is browned. Right, so once the pork and onion mix has cooled down, transfer it into a big bowl, and then we're just going to add all the other bits in to make our stuffing. And this is the fun bit, because this is where you can start customizing it according to what you like. So you can really have a play around and change the stuffing to your taste. But I'm going to add some dried apricots just for a bit of sweetness. Fruit works really well with pork. So I've got 3 dried apricots. I'm just chopping them up. I'm going to pop those in. And then we want the zest of an unwaxed orange. I've got some nice rosemary and sage here. And I'm just going to roughly chop those together and put them in as well. Nice woody herbs. Work really well with the pork. A good grating of fresh nutmeg, which is a lovely spice. Again, very festive. I've got a slice of sourdough bread. I'm just going to take off the really tough crust and take out the nice spongy centre bit, and just break that up into small pieces to go in. You could use normal white bread, but sourdough is much, much tastier. And then we want about half a tablespoon of lemon juice. And then we're going to add the toasted pine nuts in there, lovely. And then I'm just going to give it a quick mix through with my hands to combine these ingredients before I add the egg to bind it. And then I'm going to season it with some black pepper, good old grating in there. And another good pinch of salt. And then just an egg going in to bind it. Gonna stir that all in together. So I've got my pork belly that's been resting for 8 hours, and I'm going to stuff it with the lovely stuffing I just made. So lay it down, skin side down, and then get your stuffing, and you just want to do a little sausage of stuffing down the middle of the pork. You don't want to overfill it. Any stuffing that's left you can just cook off separately and it will be really, really nice. Just cooked in a little roasting tin or something. Then you want to squeeze it together, roll it up, and you're going to tie it with some string because we're going to roast it as a nice roll, so you will need to tie it up. So get a piece of string and just slide it under there. So you want to start off by just making a loop. Squeeze that nice and tight. This is actually a really good one to get someone to help you with, but I don't have anyone helping me today. And then bring it down to here. Bring it down to here and hook it around your finger, and then bring it back down under the pork and pull it round and under. And the whole time just keep on pressing the stuffing back in. So just the final loop now. It really is worth getting someone to help you hold the meat together while you string it, by the way. And then just give it a really good tug and secure it. Okay, so here it is all tied up. And once it's secure, you're just gonna put it in a roasting tin and leave it to sit with the skin facing up so that it dries out, because you want to get that really good crackling on it. And we're going to put it back in the fridge for another couple of hours now. And after a couple of hours, take it out of the fridge and let it come up to room temperature before cooking it at 180 for 2 hours. Well, while the pork's been cooking, the night's drawn in and we've rather lost the light. But the most important thing is that the pork should be cooked to perfection. So let's have a look in the oven. Oh, there we go. And here it is. Our lovely festive porchetta, stuffed with pine nuts and orange and pork shoulder. Now it's out the oven, you can't tuck into it straight away. You've got to rest it for about 30 minutes so that it retains all of its moisture and is nice and juicy. But I just can't resist trying a little bit of this crackling. Oh yeah. I hope you've enjoyed this festive A Lot on Her Plate special. And if you had a go at the recipe, please let us know how you got on. Also, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more delicious recipes. Have a wonderful Christmas and I'll see you in 2016. And here it is, our lovely festive porchetta, stuffed with pine nuts and orange and pork shoulder and garlic and fennel and onion. Oh.